10. Coldplay lyrics. 33-year-old Charles McLemore from Pensacola, Florida, found himself in a sticky situation after being accused by his family and others of harassment on February 28, 2019. Apparently, the man had a long prison history, and he was violently threatening multiple people, including his family, saying his Nazi associates from prison would help. His family didn't take too kindly to the threats, and they reported him to the police. According to his stepmother, Charles had threatened to kill her, and when she tried to cut off all contact, he started texting her all sorts of Coldplay lyrics. He texted her saying, "Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you." Apparently, this was big enough threat for his stepmother to report it to the police. I mean, if you don't know they come from a song, the words do sound pretty ominous. After finding out that he might be sent back to jail, Charles barricaded himself in his house, crying that he didn't want to go to jail again. Eventually, the SWAT team had to be called, and Charles resisted numerous attempts at being arrested. Eventually, he made a deal with the Pensacola Police Department. If he were to leave the house, they would give him a fresh pizza with his favorite topping. He accepted. The police actually ordered pizza for him, and he was promptly arrested after leaving. He was charged with resisting arrest and stalking, and his bond was set at $100,000, mainly due to his prior arrests. But hey, at least he got to go out in a blaze of glory with a steaming hot pizza. Number 9. Stealing an alligator. On July 16, 2021, 32-year-old William Hodge was arrested after stealing an entire alligator from a miniature golf course in Daytona Beach Shores, Florida. He took the gator to a rooftop bar near the golf course where he proceeded to wrestle the creature, slamming it by holding its tail and grappling with it. Eventually, as a final act of, quote, teaching the gator a lesson, he attempted to throw it off a roof. Why, you might ask? Well, we aren't too sure. It must be a Florida thing. This scene was witnessed by nearby police officers who managed to stop the criminal before things got too out of hand and the alligator was seriously injured. The officers said they watched the man drag the gator by its tail, stomp it, and slam it against the building of the rooftop bar. Once he was arrested, the 32-year-old was charged with all kinds of offenses, some of which included possession and injury of an alligator, which is apparently a valid crime, theft, criminal mischief, and unarmed burglary of an occupied dwelling. I think it's safe to say that this man won't be getting any fresh air anytime soon, and rightfully so. We have to protect the gators after all. Number 8. Rattlesnake. On May 17, 2017, a Florida man from Putnam County named Ron Reinold almost died in an unbelievably dumb manner after his neighbor found a rattlesnake in his yard, a highly venomous animal that could easily kill a person with just one bite. Ron thought it would be a good idea to play with the scaly creature. According to his neighbors, Ron claimed he could, quote, kiss the devil and get away with it. While that should have already been a red flag, they weren't prepared for what was to come. Ron tried to straight up kiss the rattlesnake on the mouth, and no, this was not a princess and the frog scenario, although a Florida man and snake spin-off would be hilarious. Predictably, the rattlesnake bit Ron on the tongue, knocking him out almost immediately. Ron was in such a bad condition that he had to be emergency airlifted to a nearby medical facility. Fortunately for him, the doctors were able to get the venom out, and he was able to recover at the hospital. It's not clear why he would do something like this, but it's clear that he is not Prince Charming and definitely cannot kiss the devil. Number 7. Fixing traffic. From 2012 to 2014, there was only one man keeping the Florida roads safe from all the drivers distracted by their cell phones. That man was Jason Humphreys. Knowing that Florida still hadn't outlawed the use of a cell phone while driving, Jason took matters into his own hands. On his daily commute to work, Jason carried a powerful signal jammer with him that would block cell phone service for all the cars in his vicinity. While his actions may have had good intentions, what he didn't realize that it also jammed all the signals used by emergency first responders. And in case you didn't already know, that's a pretty serious crime. Somehow his actions went unnoticed for almost 2 years until Metro PCS, a cell phone service provider, noted that their reception was dropped at the same point of the freeway he drove on every day. They immediately reported it to the FCC, who carried out an investigation and pinned it down to Jason Humphreys and his Toyota Highlander. Humphreys could have gone to jail over the whole ordeal, but the FCC decided to cut him some slack and only fine him for the incident. Overall, he was fined around $48,000. Still beats going to prison, though. Number 6. A rather deadly weapon. Florida men and alligators go together like alcohol and bad decisions. And for this Florida man, he probably had all 4 under his belt. On February 9, 2016, a man from Jupiter, Florida named Joshua James was arrested after he attacked a Wendy's drive-thru window using an alligator. Yes, you heard that right. Apparently, the incident occurred in October of 2015, months before his arrest. 24-year-old Joshua James found a live alligator on the side of the road, picked it up and tossed it into his car, and proceeded to go to a Wendy's drive-thru. After getting his drink, he threw the 3.5-foot or just over a meter-long alligator into the drive-thru window, terrorizing the restaurant's employees. Probably would have been a good idea to call out sick that day. Joshua was arrested by U.S. Marshals in February for illegal possession of an alligator and assaulted with a deadly weapon. The weapon in this case was an alligator. He was released on a $6,000 bail and apparently had a history of elaborate pranks. He was additionally barred from all Wendy's restaurants, and he was ordered by the court to stay away from all kinds of animals as a condition for his release. Thankfully, no one was physically harmed during the incident. Looks like Joshua won't be getting Frosties anytime soon. What is it with people in Florida using alligators in their criminal activities? Can you think of another animal that Floridians might use? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 5. Weirdest mugshot in Florida. You've probably seen some interesting mugshots come out of Florida over the years, but prepare yourself because this mugshot taken on October 19, 2019 could top them all. A 34-year-old man named Ricky Dealey was pulled over by cops in Florida during a routine check. Sadly for Ricky, the cops found out he was driving on a suspended license. It's not exactly the most brutal crime, but the aftermath looks pretty flashy. His mugshot shows him with an expression that makes it seem like he didn't even know where he was. His haircut was badly trimmed, his nose looks perhaps a little bit too large for his face, his chin and neck beard were laughable, but what captures most people's attention were his ears. Clearly, this isn't America's Next Top Model. The photo became an instant viral hit online after the Marion County Sheriff's Department posted it on Facebook. There were comments asking why he just didn't flap his ears and fly out the police station like Dumbo. And let's be honest, his whole haircut situation doesn't help his ears out one bit. The driving with a suspended license thing isn't going to keep him in jail for long though, luckily for him. The general punishment for that would be a 60-day jail term and a $500 fine. That's $500 Ricky won't be using for a makeover. 4. Florida man jailed for detergent. On December 5, 2018, a Florida man from Martin County named Matt Kroll was one of 11 people arrested on drug charges by the Martin County Sheriff's Deputy Stephen O'Leary. They were charged with trafficking heroin, and the cops had a solid case on their hands after they managed to get a positive heroin test on the substances they confiscated. Matt was sitting on a $500,000 bond in jail, but after spending 41 nights there, he was quickly released after a revelation came through. As it turns out, the officer, Stephen O'Leary, found a half-empty Tide detergent packet on the side of the road, and he falsely claimed that this belonged to the suspects. On top of that, he also falsely claimed that it tested positive for heroin when it absolutely didn't. Apparently, O'Leary only showed pictures of a positive test instead of showing an actual positive from the so-called, quote, evidence. This was all uncovered after the police investigated the entirety of the incident, which led to O'Leary promptly getting fired. The 11 innocent suspects were released from jail shortly after. As for Stephen O'Leary, it was revealed that throughout his career, he had arrested at least 26 people over false drug charges, and he was facing a maximum prison sentence of around 196 years. His actual time dimmed in comparison, though, as he was charged with only 17 years, hardly making up for the lives he ruined. Number 3. The greatest hoax. During the 1940s, back when Florida wasn't known as the crazy state it is today, residents at the Clearwater Beach area of the state noted footprints of a giant three-toed animal on the sand. Even more footprints were found around the shore of the Suwannee River, which only made the residents more nervous and curious. People from all over the region tried to make sense of this mysterious creature. Some said that it may have been some sort of penguin that could be as tall as 15 feet or just under 4.5 meters. By now, the creature had gained a nickname, the Giant Penguin, and it was even mentioned in local newspapers at the time. But it turned out there wasn't a giant penguin at all. It wasn't even a local animal. It turned out to be something much more deadly. Yes, a Florida man. That's right, a famous local prankster known as Tony Signorini kept his little hoax a secret until it was reported by the St. Petersburg Times in 1988. He used to wear a pair of giant penguin shoes and made strange little footprints all over the place, while also removing any trace of himself in the process. He was so good at the prank that he even managed to fool zoologists into studying his footprints. Imagine being an accredited scientist and having that on your resume. I guess Florida has always been kinda crazy after all. Tony Signorini ended up owning his infamous penguin shoes until the prankster passed away at 91 years old in 2013. 2. Sophisticated crime. On January 1st, 2020, 3 armed robbers almost pulled off a perfect robbery in Clearwater, Florida. The entire robbery was planned in an extremely sophisticated manner. It went down at 5 a.m. on New Year's Day, when the police would generally be busy looking for drunk people to arrest rather than focusing on the usual crimes. The 3 men, Roy Lampkin, David Dobbins, and Christopher Rachel, hit up a CVS store wearing rubber gloves to avoid leaving any fingerprints. They held the employees hostage and even bound some of them, all while managing to conceal their identities. They managed to steal over 10,000 pills of difficult-to-obtain opioids with a street value of over $320,000. They loaded the drugs into the garbage bags and made a perfect escape. Well, almost perfect. We wouldn't be talking about it if it had all gone according to plan. Apparently, the robbers only wanted the pills, not the bottles they were in. So on the way to their hideout, they started emptying out bottles. Once they emptied it, they just toss it out in the window. The bottles created a trail of breadcrumbs on the streets that allowed the cops to trace them down and arrest them the following day. Once they were arrested, the police used closed-circuit television footage to match them with the description the CVS workers gave and charged all 3 of them with a count of armed robbery, 2 counts of trafficking in illegal drugs, along with 3 counts of false imprisonment. 2 of the men were held at $280,000 bail, while the mastermind, or master idiot, behind the operation, Roy Lampkin, was held at $500,000 bail. Number 1. Locked in the car. On February 17, 2019, Shadow Lantry and her husband accidentally locked their car with not only their keys, but their 1-year-old daughter inside. After the father strapped their daughter into the vehicle, he tossed the keys to the front seat before getting out and closing the doors, only to realize moments later that all the doors were locked. This is every parent's worst nightmare, and there was seemingly nothing they could do. So they called the local sheriff over, who thankfully seemed to know what he was doing. He noticed there were a few inmates that were working on a rehabilitation program, so he gave them permission to break into the car and rescue the couple's daughter. Of course, who better to break into a car than an inmate with experience? While the officer was watching, the inmates easily popped open the car's lock using a coat hanger within minutes. The mother was extremely grateful to the men, and she contributed to the inmates' commissary accounts as a token of gratitude for saving her daughter's life. These men may be in jail for a crime, but they're true heroes when it comes to situations like this. Thanks for watching. Which of these stories was your favorite? What's the craziest Florida man story you've heard? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like these. See you next time on the Bad Badger.